Hello everyone and welcome to part 6 of Catching Up on JP. Today we're going to take a look at the Christmas and the New Year's event, the RikaRen event, Holy Night, and the Purity of Haregi Sayaka event. Since of course these are all really highly popular characters in both manga record and overall in Puramagi Madoka Magica, of course we need to check out just how good these events are. Not very. So let's go right ahead with our first event. The page I write on the Holy Night from here with you. This is the RikaRen Christmas event that I can already tell you plays at the same time as the other two Christmas events. That was the Holy Mami event and the Holy Aina event. They all play on exactly the same day apparently. In the same few hours, and we're going to start out with a little bit of story from the beginning, where we see that Mitama apparently has granted special magic to RikaRen that will allow them to make stuff come true, that will allow them to basically give people what they want, what they need. However, in order to actually make that happen, both RikaRen, they must be on the same page, pun intended. They must both want the same thing, and then their magic can make it happen. That's at least how Mitama phrases it, that sort of magic that she's given to them, like temporarily, because they need to do something. They need to do something for Mitama, and that is, there's this familiar, for some reason, that is friendly, called Chu, and they need to help this familiar, because this familiar is going around and has to eat up the cowardice that is hiding in people's hearts. So they basically want to feed Chu to eat up the cowardice, and so they set out to help people defeat their own cowardice with their newfound magic. Awesome. So the first few people that they run into, they are Felicia and Sana, who apparently they wanted to get a Christmas cake to Yachio, but oh no, they accidentally had it drop, fell down on the ground, it got ruined. So what do they do now? Well, Rika and Ren, they both see that, and they just use their magic to both fix up the cake and make it as good as new again. However, that of course did not fix the cowardice that was hiding in these people. So what happens is afterwards, Yachio arrives at the scene, and Felicia then comes towards Yachio, and she apologizes. Felicia actually apologizes for having ruined the cake, and that makes the cowardice leave her heart, and Chu can gobble up that cowardice, and they move on to the next scene, where we see that they are meeting Kaede and Rena, who are also having an argument, where Rena was trying to invite Kaede to some concert, but you know how Rena is, she can't really say anything without insulting people all the time, because she's just the way she is. She's basically just tsundere in that way, and she has the cowardice in her that she cannot really say to Kaede the way she feels. But both Rika and Ren, they use their magic to give her the courage that she needs to speak up, and so Rena uses that courage and talks to Kaede. She just basically straight up invites her out to the idol concert, and Kaede is really joyful, it really likes that, really joyful, and they get along really nicely, and so Chu can eat up a bit more cowardice. They then meet Akira at Emiri's consultation room, where apparently Akira has this Christmas costume, and she's just too scared to put it on because, you know, Akira, she usually has a sort of boyish look to her, and she might not look good in a Christmas costume, but Rika and Ren, they both see that, and they both think at the same time, I kind of want to see what that looks like, and just by both thinking that at the same time, their magic comes into effect, and Akira basically gets forced into this costume and then runs away and hides, because she still doesn't think it looks good. However, the rest of the Nanaka Mafia team arrives. That is Nanaka, that is Kako, and some other Chinese girl, who cares about her, and they arrive at the scene, and they tell Akira that she looks nice, and Akira says, you know what, yes, I do look nice, and the cowardice leaves her heart. And Emiri and Kako, Emiri and Akira, I mean, they both then talk to RikaRen, and they sort of get roped into this as well, and they decide to help RikaRen, and they form the Holy Girls team out there to fight cowardice and bring courage to people and all the good stuff. So they run around and they help more people. For example, they run into a boy who had an argument with his dad over what Santa really does, if he's real or not whatsoever, any of these questions that a young boy might have, and they give the boy the courage to apologize to his dad, and once again there's more cowardice that Chu can feed on. And also at almost the same time, they also run across a couple, like a boy and a girl, not like two girls, even though at this point that's kind of the thing we're used to. Anyway, it's a guy and a girl, and the guy has doesn't have the courage to propose to his girlfriend, and so a bunch of other stuff happens, doesn't really matter. However, in the end, Rika and Ren, they both make this giant snow globe that you apparently can go into. There's like a door on it or whatever, and they make this giant snow globe, and the guy and the girl, they both go into that snow globe, and in there the guy confesses, not confesses, but proposes to the girl, and they end up getting married, and they live happily ever after, and everything is fine and happy, and yay. Now, you might have noticed something really weird going on with the story so far, that everything seems to have this weirdly specific theme of people fighting, or people just not being, not having the courage that they need to, well, either apologize to people, or the courage that they need to talk about their true feelings. There's sort of this theme that has run across this, and that was definitely not something that was just an accident, that this happens to be the theme to everything that has happened today, because it is now the second part of the event that starts, and as it turns out, it was all a dream. Literally, it was literally all a dream, everything that I've talked about so far, because as it turned out, in the real world, what happened a few days or weeks earlier, before all of this, is that Rika and Ren, they both got into a fight over Santa, like what Santa does, if he's real or not altogether, kind of what we already saw in the dream, sort of referenced there. Yes, that also happened in real life between Rika and Ren. They sort of got into a fight over Santa, and after that they both sort of sulked, and because they're both really gay for each other, they really wanted to apologize to the other, they really wanted to make up again and become best friends again. However, or even more than best friends, but they both just didn't have the courage. They were both just too awkward in that situation to be the first person to apologize to the other, and so Akira and Emiri, they both went over to Mitama and said, "Hey Mitama, can you help us with this?" And so Mitama arranged for a specific special session between the two, where both of them would get brought in at the same time, and Mitama would adjust both of them at the same time. Lucky Mitama. And Mitama basically created a dream that both of these two would get sucked into, and in that dream they would be confronted with all of these different scenes where they would have to help people find the courage to apologize, find the courage to talk about their true feelings. And of course, because it's Mitama, she snuck in that part of the couple where it's like, "Hey Rika and Ren, don't you want to find the courage to propose to each other? Wink wink." I can't even disagree with Mitama at this point. But yeah, at the end of the dream, though, however, Rika and Ren, they both talk about that fight they had, and they both make up, they both become best friends, and maybe even more again at that point, and they both wake up at Mitama's, and they're all happy again, and yay, and they sort of ride off into the sunset and they also say that their friendship has gotten so much deeper now, and is so much more now. And however, in order to sort of celebrate their engagement, I mean their friendship once again, they sort of request to Mitama that Mitama adjusts them once again, and this time gives them some of that magic that they used in the dream, but for real now. And Mitama says, "I can't do that, I'm not a miracle worker." But what Mitama can do is she can basically still give some of that magic to them, and so what ends up happening is, with that sort of adjustment, they're able to summon this flying sled that they sort of ride over the city, and then they both cause it to snow. Apparently they can do that with that magic, and this is also ties back into the other Christmas events, if you can remember that, in the Holy Umami event, and I think in the Holy Aina event as well, like towards the end of that, it started snowing, and that is apparently now because Rika and Ren used their game magic to make it snow at the end of that event. Awesome. So yeah, that's the end of this event. Yay! Happy New Year's Festival, a loving and sincere heart, also known as the purity of Haregi. Japanese names do so long for these events. Anyway, we start out in this event with Sayaka, who really wants to give Kyosuke Kamijo, I'm going to call him Kamijo from now on, a gift for New Year's, but she doesn't really know what to do, and Madoka, she sees that Sayaka is having trouble, so Madoka comes up to Sayaka and shows her that apparently in Kamihama there is going on this calligraphy contest, and in case you don't know what calligraphy is, it's basically the art of just writing in a very beautiful way. And I don't mean like the contents of the writing are beautiful, but the writing itself is really beautiful. You should look up some videos on calligraphy, it actually looks really awesome. Anyway, so there's this calligraphy contest going on in Kamihama. Apparently Sayaka at least knows a little bit about calligraphy, and the grand prize for winning that contest is 2 tickets to a concert. Yay! So of course Madoka says you should take part in this contest and win those tickets, and then you can go to a concert with Kamijo. Although we all of course hope that she would instead go with Kyoko, but the writers, I have to say right away that the F4S writers, they really want Sayaka to end up with Kamijo, so I'm sorry, Kyoko Sayaka fans, this is not the event for you. This is instead the event for hetero Sayaka, but let's continue. Anyway, Sayaka is still a coward at first, and she sort of doesn't have this courage to go up and do it. Didn't we just see it in the other event? Anyway, she sort of doesn't have the courage. However, Homura and Madoka, they both keep egging her on, and for the rest of the event now, Madoka and Homura, they will tag along with Sayaka. They will walk along with Sayaka and basically play wingman for Sayaka and make sure that Sayaka wins the contest and ends up with Kamijo. So they look over what this calligraphy contest actually is, and what that event is basically all over Kamihama there are multiple shops, like maybe some like toy stores or some restaurants or some other shops, whatever. They're all taking part of this in this contest, where the event organizers are handing out some riddles that you have to solve, and when you solve a riddle, the solution to that riddle will point you towards one of the stores in Kamihama, and then that store will have some like a piece of paper with like a kanji on it, like a word, basically like a kanji, and you have to go around and you have to gather up a whole bunch of kanji, and once you have 4 kanji, what you then have to do is you have to write down the best phrase that you can think of with these 4 kanji, and of course, since it's calligraphy, it has to look nice as well, and basically whoever makes the best phrase with the most beautiful calligraphy wins. But of course, in order to get there, you have to solve the riddles, and you have to find the stores, and you have to get the paper with the kanji on it from the stores. That's a lot of work for just calligraphy, but apparently that's all part of the contest. Anyway, all 3 of them, like Madoka, Homura, and Sayaka, they all arrive in Kamihama. However, they have a problem in that even if they solve the riddles, they don't know any of the stores in Kamihama, so they kind of need someone from Kamihama to come out and help them, and they just happen to run into Kako, and I guess Natsuki and Ria, they're also there. They don't really matter too much. More importantly, Kako is there. Hopefully, Homura doesn't get too jealous when she sees Kako and Madoka holding hands. Oh no. Anyway, they go around and they find a few kanji with the help of Kako and the other 2, and it comes to the point where they only need 1 more. However, they're having trouble solving that last riddle, and Sayaka, well, it's just a tiny problem that they can't solve this riddle, but Sayaka is already ready to throw in the towel and give up and like, oh, I'm so sorry guys, we failed, blarg, I'm gonna witch out now. But she talks to Madoka and Homura for a bit, and she is able to find newfound determination, and filled with this newfound determination, she is able to stand up again and say, I'm going to keep trying, and then they solve the riddle, and they get to the next shop and find their last kanji. Awesome. However, as they leave that store, there are some kids that go into the store after them, and they run out. Those kids run out afterwards very quickly, and they are rather sad because it turns out that Sayaka just took the last kanji, and there are no more like papers with kanji in that store, and now the kids are sad. And they start crying, and Sayaka is like, don't worry about it, I'm going to give my kanji to you so that you can like finish the contest, because that's more important, because Sayaka is all about justice. And if this was the real Madoka Magica, Sayaka at this point would just witch out probably and lose the contest, but this isn't Madoka Magica, this is Manga Record, so don't worry, because this act of friendship is a surprise tool that will help us later. So after all of that, once again we need another kanji, so we need to solve another riddle and get to another point. However, Kako is there, and Kako says, don't worry about it, my bookshop is actually also a store that has one of these, so we're going to go over to Kako's bookshop, and they get another kanji in there. So now for real, they have all the 4 kanji that they need, and they can go to Mizuna Shrine, where the finale of the contest is being held, and then once they are there, they can just write down a phrase with those 4 kanji and hopefully win, we hope. So at this point, however, Madoka, Homura, and Sayaka, they say goodbye to Kako and the rest because they don't need their help anymore, and they make their way over to Mizuna Shrine. And we then get this meanwhile section where Team Mikazuki is also walking around Kamihama. They're also doing stuff, and what they do is every year on New Year's, what they're doing is they're buying gift bags. Everyone gets to buy their own gift bags with a bunch of money that they get, and there's like half of the rest of the event at this point is just random slice of life stuff. And I'm sorry guys, almost every single event, or not every single, like so many events out there, so many main story stuff, so many another story, so many like other magical girl stories. There's so many pieces of stories in this game where we get to see Team Mikazuki's slice of life stuff. Like, look, it's once again, it's Tsuruno and Felicia having a row with each other, and they get angry at each other, and then Yachiru has to be like, I'm the mom, clean your plates, and then Iroha and Sana are being gay in some other corner or whatever. Like, this happens so often in the game, and now once again we have like multiple scenes in a row with just, look, it's Tsuruno and Felicia, they're having a trouble of which gift bag to buy, and then Ayame and Felicia, they trade gift bags, and everything is fine. Did we need multiple scenes on that? I don't think so. We already had like 10 billion scenes like this. And there's another scene where Sana and Iroha, they go to a store and buy a cat gift bag, and it's like, okay, we can just skip all of that. We've already seen that a billion times. So I'm basically skipping like half the event at this point, because, like I said, who cares about this? Who cares about stuff? Anyway, we then get to back to the actual regular scheduled story at this point, where Iroha runs into Madoka, Homura, and Sayaka back at Mizuna Shrine, and for some reason they all look rather sad, because what happened is Sayaka found another crying kid and gave away another one of her kanji. How does she not reach out? How does Sayaka not reach out? Well, I guess watching the original Madoka Magica, we know that Sayaka reaches out basically all the time, and I guess this is kind of why. But this is my character, so don't worry, she's not going to reach out over this, even though she really should have. Like, you can't just give away your wins onto time, Sayaka, what are you doing? So, they need another kanji, and they need it quickly, but the thing is, there's only like one riddle left, and no one was able to solve that riddle. Like, not even the other contestants were able to solve that riddle. It's a really hard riddle, and they can't solve it either. However, as they walk around Kamihama again, looking for more clues, they just randomly run into Kyoko, who's just also there for some reason. Like, she wants some food. She can get that in Casamino or whatever. Don't worry about it. But Kyoko is right there. They run into her. And Sayaka is like, my girlfriend, or no, she just says, Kyoko, I need help, and she sort of tells Kyoko about everything that's been going on, and Kyoko's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but if you're looking for some other stores that might have some New Year's event going on, I've been to this restaurant back there, and that restaurant had some sort of New Year's decoration up. It might be connected to the to that sort of contest. Do you need some more info? I think they sell like 50-point foods, so that's the restaurant you need to go to. So they go to Banbansai, of course, and Tsuruno is there, and yeah, she's like, yeah, I have the kanji. So they get the last kanji from Tsuruno, and Sayaka has this amazing idea. With the 4 kanji that she has now, she wants to write a phrase that apparently is really good. It says Manchu Han Imperial Feast. Apparently that's a really good phrase to make, because I don't know, I'm not Japanese, but apparently it's a really good phrase, and so she wants to make the phrase. They go back to Mizuna Shrine, she makes that phrase. Like I said, apparently she's somehow good at calligraphy, and she turns it in, and the judges, they go, you know what, it might not be the best, but we're going to let Sayaka win anyway, because we had these crying kids come in, and they told us that Sayaka gave them the words, and because Sayaka is so awesome, we're gonna have to let her win. Like I said earlier, it's a surprise tool that comes back later to help us. But yeah, because Sayaka was such a good person, everyone basically rallies to have Sayaka win the contest, and so Sayaka wins the contest. Awesome. Don't let that calligraphy professional over there in the corner who spent his entire life working on calligraphy, who made the best phrase, the most beautiful phrase that's going to be hung up in a museum, that guy lost because he didn't give a crying kid his kanji. Whatever. Anyway, Sayaka won, and she thinks about giving, of course, the tickets, one of the tickets to Kamijo, and so that she can go to a concert with Kamijo. But she once again is like, oh no, I don't know if I should do it. I'm so afraid. I'm so scared. And so Madoka and Homura basically go, just fucking do it. And so of course, once again, Madoka and Homura are the greatest wingmen. Because, of course, we know that basically a couple girlfriends to each other are also really good wingmen for other people. And so, because Sayaka is like the token hetero in that entire, you know what I mean. Anyway, so they basically are the wingman once again for Sayaka, and Sayaka goes off on a date with Kamijo that we don't get to see, but it probably doesn't work out because we know that Kamijo is kind of a dense idiot. Anyway, that was that. Hit that subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.